Hello and welcome to another episode of We Love Horror, the podcast where two best friends spin a wheel once a week. It chooses the horror film and they discuss it. Today we're talking about 1993's The Good Son, which was directed by Joseph Ruben. I'm your co-host Alec.
Eric, why are you laughing? Why are you laughing?
I'm looking at the poster. I've never seen the poster before and I'm like, this doesn't look like a horror movie.
Bro, I looked at it with Macaulay Culkin.
Yeah, he's just smiling
You know what? You picked this movie, by the way,
I
right?
did. Oh yeah, I did. Yeah.
And I had a joke where I was like, I bet Alec picked this movie because you're going to drop some crazy trivia on me. Like, did you know that Michael Jackson had a 27 by 40 frame poster of the film above his bed? The poster is. There is another poster that is. I bought this on YouTube, I think, to watch for like $3, and the poster there is like more red and sinister. That poster of him is like it looks like Home Alone.
I've never seen it before.
It's bad. It's bad.
Yeah,
What does it say? Like evil, or what does it say at the bottom or top?
it says evil has many faces.
Kevin.
It's just him giving, yeah, like a Home Alone smirk. And this came out the year after Home Alone 2. So like, and it's called The Good Son. It's like this does not look like a horror movie. And it's got like, like a nice beach in the back with like a beautiful house on the water. Like this does not look like a horror movie.
So many dads in 1984 when this came out, or when it's 93, accidentally brought their kids to this movie.
Probably.
I mean, I'm gonna call it. I'm just gonna say, yeah, that happened. That happened. At least four dads are like, oh no, this is not like Home Alone.
We'll get into like my history with this movie, but I just want to ask, like, is there anything you can think of that this movie should be rated R for?
Anything? The pilot? No.
There's one F-bomb.
Yeah, that the one F bomb.
That's fine. PG-13 is fine.
Just the children violence. There's kids killing kids.
Who gets killed? No kids kill any kids in this movie.
There's two kids that get killed in this movie.
What kid kills a kid in this movie?
Do you want me to spoiler alert for anyone listening? Macaulay Culkin. I mean, what's his name in this? It's
Henry.
Henry has killed his infant brother in a bathtub.
We don't see that. We don't see that.
But then he attempts to kill his sister Connie.
Attempts.
R. In the 93, give that a hard R.
Okay, all right. Yeah, but I don't know. I was watching this movie and I was like, yeah, like it is intense, but I feel like this could get a PG-13. I think this could get a pass on that. I don't know.
Maybe they had to be like, listen, let's put an R on this just so the dads don't bring their kids to the theater by accident.
Well, all right, so I saw this movie when I was probably about 9. And like, I don't know who showed it to me or if I just saw it on TV. I probably was like, oh, I like Macaulay Culkin, so I'll watch this. And then I was probably like, oh, I like Elijah Wood too. So I was like, oh my God, I like both these people. Yeah, so I know this is not a good movie, but I like it. I think it's like, it's got its moments.
I'm gonna say this, it's a good movie. I don't care what anyone says.
You think it's a good movie?
I liked it. I thought it was a good movie.
It's kind of cheesy. It's got some.
I have a couple takes and like my qualms with it, but I enjoyed it. However, it's my first time watching it fully
Oh.
because I've always seen the ending, and I think it was spoiled with me on television a long time ago. And the ending is like the most famous part.
Yeah, it's the Sophie's Choice of the 90s.
It's like, but worse.
Yeah, yeah.
It's not a good Sophie's Choice, and then the Sophie's Choice was a good choice either. But like, this was like, oh my God, like we're here with kids.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we'll get to the ending because that's a big talking point. But yeah, this movie is just super 90s. The haircuts, the house, the clothing, the cars. I mean, dude. This even watching it, I was like, man, this reminds me of growing up in Connecticut like in like winter. Like it really reminded me of that.
How so? Like, and we grew up doing crazy shit and stuff and shootings, BB guns, and
Not even the anything to do with like the people or what they're doing or whatever like that, but just the way the sky looks gray, in the middle of the day and the water dripping off the
yeah.
trees because the snow's like there's a lot of things that like I remembered from my childhood seeing this and being like, wow, like I lived that.
Well, I'll tell you two things right now. Right now, you live in California, so you know what Connecticut in the winter looks like. Slash, this is Maine also. So Stephen King is like, yo, what the fuck? Maine's my turf.
Well, it takes place in Maine, but it's actually filmed in Newburyport, Massachusetts.
Newburyport. Word.
Yeah. So Dom, what's up? Shout out.
Wait, is he in Newburyport? Where is he?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. He is. He's a Newburyport.
No shit. Okay, that's wild. Yeah, shout out Dom. Why isn't he on this? But like, that's like even worse because Dom is like the biggest Stephen King fan, so he's probably like protesting this. He's like, no, no, Stephen King has Maine. No one else gets Maine. What was that? What was I even saying before that? I was saying you're in LA right now. You know Connecticut winters. You know what it looks like here. But also, this movie starts in Arizona, or is it Arizona
New Mexico, New
or New
Mexico.
Mexico? And that is what you're living in now. The bright Rocky Mountain skies and beautiful. And then it literally pivots real quick. So Elijah Wood not only goes from losing his mother to the cold, shitty winters and gray skies of Connecticut. So it's like I'm going from bright blue to depressing gray. So that's a great thought you just had, Alec.
Well, it's a good contrast, yeah, but you know, there's problems out in the desert too. It's hot as shit and but dude, I will say, like I did drive through New Mexico like 6 months ago or whatever. It really is like that. Like it's just beautiful. It
My,
doesn't
my
look
my 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 uncle lives out there, and he's always trying to get me to go out there.
it doesn't look like Earth. Like it really doesn't look like it's of this planet. It looks like it's Mars or something. It's really cool to drive through it. And I like that in the beginning we get to see the dad and Elijah do that drive and he's playing the Game Boy or whatever and he runs off in the desert when he's like, "Come on back" or whatever. But I liked that we get to see that beautiful landscape. Like I really like that. And then also another beautiful landscape in Massachusetts, but just different. Dude, I
Totally.
love little beach towns. Like my grandparents, like Niantic, that whole thing.
Yeah.
I loved it even in the winter. We'd go down for Christmas, dude. You'd walk on the beach. It would be a little warmer than it would be up
We
north.
also had our indigenous people rock at Black Rock. Remember that?
Sure.
They have the no, but they have this huge cliff in this movie, and then we had that as kids.
Oh,
That's all I'm saying. Like,
oh. I thought you were just randomly bringing that up. I was like,
no,
okay.
no, 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 no. I mean, the cliff is such a huge part of this movie, and we see it multiple
Yeah.
times. But like, we had that too growing up. So yeah,
Yeah, but I like the beach even in winter. Like I do like the ocean being right next to it in when it's cold. Like I like that, and this movie nailed that. But yeah, the
yeah.
movie does start off with Elijah Wood's playing soccer. He's killing it, really living it up. And then his dad walks over all sad and
Which is such a sad scene in multiple ways. It's because like his dad never comes to his games because his dad probably works all the time. And also if his dad did come to his game, it's probably because there's bad news and his mom's sick. So it's like, oh, that sucks, right?
he just scored a goal, so it's like
Uh yeah. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, the dad giving him the look, and Elijah knowing his mom's sick, he's just like fuck. So goes to the hospital.
It made me think like the dad being there is like, oh, my dad's in my game. This can't be good. Like my dad never comes to my games. Like that's what I thought of.
Yeah, I mean, and it's true. So yeah, so that he goes to visit his mom at the hospital. They have a very sad, touching lifetime moment, kind of like, "I love you, I've always loved you."
And he says the line, what does he say? Like, you're not gonna die because I'm not gonna let you. And I was like, that's really sad.
Yeah, and then she does say the one line where it's like, "I'll always be with you," which he really takes to heart.
He really takes seriously. Yes, you're right.
Yeah, so then they're like, "All right, let's go." They have a funeral, and then this is like, kind of good justification for why the dad like drops his kid off or whatever for 2 weeks in Maine. But he's just like,
That one line. I heard it too. Yeah.
he's like, "I got this business trip in Tokyo. If you do this, you'll be set for life. You'll never have to leave him again."
He'll be fine. He'll be around family and kids again. Like the writing was really good in that scene because it's like, what dad leaves his kid? It's like, no, like this is the only reason why you would do that.
Well, yeah, and the amount of money he'll get from this deal or whatever, like he'll never have to leave him again. So it's
What does he do for a living? Because I clearly didn't like. I don't know.
he's going to Tokyo to do something. Yeah, I know. I'd love to see that movie. It's like The Good Son 2 and what the dad did on the trip.
And all the phone calls he's getting, it's like, what do you mean? Like,
He's just snorting coke off of like a
what are you
prostitute.
who the hell is Mr. Highway? Like, what are you talking about? Like,
Yeah, he's like, "Shut up. I'll talk to you next week." So the dad goes to Tokyo, drops off his kid in Maine, and it's Macaulay Culkin, his sister.
however, he also is going to drive to Tokyo. So his dad is taking the and he's flying out. What did they say, like 2 days or 3 days?
2 weeks.
Yeah, but he decides like I will do that, but I'm spending I'm not flying my son out. I'm gonna spend time with
Oh
them
yeah.
and drive. So I thought that was a nice. He's a good dad. He's trying. He's trying.
Oh yeah, he says a line. He's like 11 states in 3 days or whatever. I looked it up, dude. It actually was 11 states. I was like, good for you guys. You actually did the research.
He's trying to reach his kid, but he's just playing Game Boy. He's like, "Hey, you want, and when you're done throwing bombs, I don't know." I felt for the dad a little bit because he's hurting too.
Oh yeah. He's like, don't shut me out, Mark. They had all the lines. They had all the sad lines.
In the first like 10 minutes, they like really said like, "No, no, no, believe us, believe us." So yeah,
Yeah, so, then they get to this beautiful, like, colonial mansion on the cliffs of Newburyport, and it's supposed to be Maine. But yeah, so they have they meet the family. So they meet Macaulay Culkin and his little
well, they
sister,
don't
and
meet Macaulay Culkin yet.
no, but they meet everybody else, and then Macaulay Culkin comes down with a mask.
Like Michael Myers, kind of like paper mache mask, though, which is kind of like a nod in my mind.
And, oh yeah, that's not bad. Yeah, yeah, he's like a serial killer with yeah.
That's what I thought. That's what I thought. And he gives him like, now we can be brothers. Remember that?
Yeah, so he's like enticing him. He's like, join me, and I know you're sad.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Elijah feels comfortable, and Macaulay Culkin kicks him when they're at dinner, but then he's like, oh, he's like my brother. My brother would kick me. I'm having fun. So the dad's like, all right. And, the mom's like, he's gonna be fine. And he's like, I think he will too.
Was that the scene they're having lobsters already?
Yeah, yeah. And he's like, you gotta crack it like this. And he's like, yeah.
Oh, they're having fun, and like Elijah's smiling. It's like, oh, this is great.
Yeah. So the dad's like, all right, all right. He's like, but I want him to see a therapist. It's like, okay, okay. Yeah, so they set up a therapist with him. Now, here's the thing. This is to me one of the biggest plot holes that they never address, and I want to ask you what your crazy logic would be for this,
Sure.
because you're don't worry, darling. You filled in every hole that I could come up with. So think of this: 2 weeks. What are they doing? Were these kids in school? Like, I don't remember getting a 2 week vacation, like they never go to Macaulay Culkin's school. They never talk about school. I can understand Elijah maybe getting pulled out because of, his mother or whatever, but why is Macaulay Culkin just get to chill at home for 2 straight weeks in the winter? It's not summer.
That's a great point. I don't have a plot hole. I mean, maybe the family's wealthy enough to just pull their kids out of school because the family needs the
It's against the
time.
law. It has nothing to do with money. You have to go to school. If you don't go to school, the parents like get arrested.
Money walks though, so they'll be fine. They'll figure it out. And it's Maine. It's Maine. School in Maine. Come on. Who cares?
I mean, here's the thing, though. These kids are causing problems, dude. Like, they're, to other people, killing dogs, destroying highways.
Oh yeah, we can get into that, but yeah, it's a great point.
But as I'm saying, like, they should be in school, you know?
You're right. So we'll get back to that. Let's come back to that. But let's pretend these kids are off on a 2 week winter break in Maine because you know what? There's a lot of snow and they're preparing the roads. I don't know.
All right, yeah.
But so Kevin wants to play. Not Kevin. Kevin. Henry. I'm thinking Macaulay Culkin. Like Kevin McAllister. Henry wants to play with Mark and brings him into his shed, right?
Is Clubhouse.
Yeah, and Mark is waking up the morning and like seeing Henry like playing like war sergeant and like throwing grenades in the water and stuff, and he brings them into his playhouse and shows them they're having fun, and then they have a scary moment where the treehouse scene, that's a hazard.
Oh, yeah. Tree houses in general, I feel like if it's like, Dad, will you build me a tree house? Like, no, I'm gonna get a guy that like can do it.
How about a shed?
I mean, treehouse would be sick as fuck, but like you got to get a real person to build it. Like you can't do it yourself, like your kids will die.
Did you see how they had to get up on the tree? So they
Oh, this is dangerous. This one's dangerous.
this one's terribly dangerous and shouldn't exist. So they did that, and then they went to like a warehouse and like broke a bunch of windows, and they're like, oh, they're doing shenanigans, and they run off, and then their kids having fun, and there's a dog that chases them, and then they get back, and then it starts to double down, right?
Yeah, there's one little inclination that he's a little off is when he shows him his crossbow that he's building, that Macaulay Culkin's building, and he's just like, oh, well, and he shoots the cat, but he misses, and he's like, the sight's not ready yet. You hear him whisper it to himself, like, because he was trying to hit the cat, but Elijah Wood's like, just give it a scare. So yeah, otherwise you're like, okay, Elijah Wood doesn't have any siblings. He's an only child, and he's always wanted a brother. Now he's got a brother, and it's like it's a good distraction from his mom and just everything like that. Like, so he's having a good time. probably overlooking that like I wouldn't do this stuff back home, but whatever. I'm with my cousin. Like we're having fun. Like this is okay to do. It's his. If he's doing it, it's okay. Oh, and they smoke a cigarette. Uh-oh. Remember that?
Bad boys. Yeah, yeah, I remember.
What? Yeah. So they go to this well in a graveyard, and Macaulay Culkin has a little box, and he's got a cigarette in there, and he lights it, and he gives it to Elijah Wood. He's like, "He gives you cancer." He's like, "You're gonna die anyways. Who cares?" And I'm like, "Oh my God, Macaulay Culkin." Like he's a kid. He's like 12 in this movie, and they're like, giving him these lines. And anyways, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
there's the thing. Movies are rated PG-13 for having cigarettes in them now. So if you're having a kid smoking back, and well, it was the 90s. I don't
X. Rated X.
know. Yeah, so Macaulay Culkin, yeah, Elijah Wood doesn't want the cigarette, and but here's the thing, man. How bad of a parent are you that your 12-year-old comes home and you don't smell cigarettes on them?
No, no, no. Oh, here's the line where I was like, bullshit in the movie. Remember when the mom's like, "What do you guys do in that shed all day?" And
Yeah.
and Macaulay Culkin goes, "It's top secret. You can't go in there." It's like, oh, okay. Well, when they go to bed, I'm gonna make sure I go in there and look at what the fuck you're up to.
Oh, the parents are awful.
Awful, 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 awful.
They're not paying attention at all. Like the mom, I don't think has a job. She's just at home all day, like I'll see you at lunch or whatever. So it's like, why aren't you like, hey, where are you? Where are you going? Like,
And she also we learned that she's lost a kid too.
yeah, we haven't talked about that yet. The youngest son, what's his name?
Richard, I believe.
Yeah, Richard, which was played by Rory Culkin, which is Macaulay Culkin's little brother, and also the sister was played by Quinn Culkin.
All the Culkins.
All the Culkins. So my favorite Culkin is oh my God. Oh my God. What's his name from fucking Succession?
Kieran.
Kieran Culkin. He's my favorite. Yes, all the Culkins are in there, and yeah, so we find out that yes, Richard is dead. So their youngest brother drowned in the tub when Henry was watching him, and you're like, okay, if this happened, even if it was a mistake, you got to keep a better eye on this kid. Like, come on, he killed your other kid, and even if he's saying he didn't or whatever, like, still keep an eye on him.
Well, there's rules to parenting. When you're in the bathtub, you don't leave your kid infant in the bathtub. Period.
Yeah,
Period. And she said she had to make a minute phone call, right? She said
I
that was
think
what it
so.
was. You don't even do that. You don't even do that. So
No, but let me ask you this. Yeah, of course. So they're in the tub. But let me ask you this. How long do you think it's been since Richard died before this movie starts?
I would imagine. So they're 12, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So I'd imagine that Macaulay Culkin's character is 6, and Richard is like 2.
So you think this happened like 6 years ago?
I would imagine, yeah. If I had to guess, am I wrong?
I don't know. I don't know. It doesn't seem that recent.
That's my take. It seems like recent, but not like I think like at least 5 years later.
Yeah, they never really say, but that even makes it crazier because she's like, well, Henry was watching Richard. It's like, how could you trust a 5-year-old to do anything, and let alone watch and
Yeah.
like a 2-year-old in the tub? You're asking for a problem. So these parents, they're very negligent. Like it's insane. And
Well, the kid tells you like you can't go in there. It's top secret. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, don't, I'm not gonna go in there. It's top secret, buddy. You got it. The second that kid goes to bed, I'm going fucking in there and seeing what he's up to.
a normal person would, but they don't.
Which
So
is just insane. Like you need to monitor your kids, people.
he's smoking cigarettes. He's got a crossbow. He's got, just
He's
crazy
got
stuff.
a tree house of terror that's like 50 feet up a tree, and it's like, do you want your kid to die? This is how kids die. Like,
Yeah, it's insane. So yeah, so anyway, so then yeah, Elijah Wood's seeing the therapist. He's pretty clammed up. He doesn't really want to talk about things. So Henry and Mark just keep going crazy, and he's like, I want to show you. Oh, but the one thing is Elijah Wood sees the mom and is just like, you're my mom. Like I know that her soul like went into you and possessed you, and now you're an evil demon of my mom, and I love you. But he thinks that that's his mom.
I think it's the worst part of the movie. Period.
Like he's too old to think that, I think. But anyways,
I thought that was never needed, and I wish that didn't happen in the movie. It would have made the movie better if they didn't do that.
yeah. So Elijah Wood really projects his mom onto his aunt and tells Macaulay Culkin. And Macaulay Culkin's like, "Oh, okay, it's your mom. Okay, cool." Yeah. So the whole time Macaulay Culkin's kind of like insinuating that he like wants to kill his sister. So Elijah Wood's just kind of like, "I'm gonna protect her," because like, what's going on?
Well, first the Mr. Highway scene happens.
Yeah, that's the first. I think that's the first. The dog.
The dog was killed, and Macaulay was like, "Ah, I'm sorry, I meant to scare it. I didn't mean to kill it." It's like, and then Elijah was like, "Okay, like that's one thing." And then the Mr. Highway thing was another thing where he caused a 40 car pileup in Maine. I don't know. It was like a little bit, it was a little too much. I feel like if it was like four cars, it'd be more realistic. But that happened, and then they ran off, and then that's when Elijah Wood knew, like, oh shit, like this is we're potentially killing people. Then we get into the Connie hide and seek thing, where it was like he thinks he's gonna kill Connie because he's saying all these dark things.
Yeah, so I got a lot to say about all that. So the dog scene, they first of all, that dog, what even is that dog? They have this like very aggressive dog that like is on the docks and just chases these kids.
It's just chasing anyone coming in. Yeah.
Yeah, which is like you're asking for trouble having that happen around. But the other thing is like Macaulay Culkin is provoking this dog. And that I think was the first thing that shows that he's like crazy, where he's just barking in this dog's face because it can't get through the fence, but it clearly could get over that fence if it wanted to. Like there's nothing stopping that dog from murdering him other than a trainer. But yeah, so Macaulay Culkin then shows, I think, that he's got the sinister side, and he's like, I love that dog or whatever. Then the Mr. Highway thing, yeah, he's like, I want to show you my top secret project, and it's, yeah, throwing this body and doing like a Final Destination 2, just fucking destroying all the highway, but nobody dies.
Personally, I've always been afraid going under underpasses in general, like people like throwing rocks and stuff, because that just kills people. That's insane that he did that.
Out here in LA, there's fences on every overpass because there's so many people that are just like screaming and like it's insane.
There should be. There should be. There should be.
Yeah, so they throw a fake body over, it causes this crash, and at this point, I think Elijah Wood's like, okay, okay.
Well, they go in like to a sewer well thing, remember? And it was like that's when he realized, like, oh shit, like I'm dealing with a bad person.
Yeah, it like by the 50-minute mark, you're like, oh boy, it's completely off the rails. And yeah, so then Mark keeps trying to be like he's gonna kill her, he's gonna do all this stuff, he's gonna do all this stuff, but nobody believes him. And the one scene that you're just kind of like, this is the scene I hated, is when he thinks that Macaulay Culkin poisoned the food, so he throws all of the food into the garbage disposal.
He could have done a better job about that. Yeah, that was rough.
Yeah, he's just like screaming and like throwing all the food everywhere. And it's like, okay, he looks insane right now. And then, yeah, the hide and seek night. So the parents are like, come, we're going to go out to have dinner. Can you guys take care of your sister? I don't know if I would trust a 12-year-old to watch an 8-year-old. Maybe I would.
I feel like that's the age, man. That's crazy. 12, 13 is when it's okay to babysit. Really.
I wouldn't trust Macaulay Culkin though. As the parents,
Especially with what the family's already been through. Yeah.
yeah, I wouldn't trust him at all. And he does try to like hurt Quinn, and they get, but nothing ends up happening. Elijah Wood sleeps in his bed or on her floor, so he protects her.
Then he wakes up and he realizes that she's not there, and Henry's not there. He goes downstairs. Oh, they're going ice skating. Remember?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
And then he goes right out to. He runs to the ice skating area, and lo and behold, Macaulay Culkin is tossing Connie into the thin ice area of the pond, which is like, if there's a thin ice area on a pond, like maybe you shouldn't be skating in general with, like, it looked like 200 people on the ice, right?
I would never trust that pond, dude.
Fuck no. Fuck the fuck no. No, 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 no,
What is
no.
wrong with these people? Like, I know for a fact that there are ice skating rinks that they could go to where this will never happen.
There's ice skating rinks in LA and Florida. Do you have the LA Knights? The Florida, what, the Panthers just won the Stanley Cup in Florida. There's no need to go on a pond like this with 200 people. It blows my mind.
I mean, I think with global warming, I don't think that this exists anymore.
Although this was like a 5 foot pond where she fell in, because you see her skates. So anyway, Macaulay Culkin literally tosses her, not throws her, but like guides her to go into the thin ice. She falls through the thin ice. It's not that deep. It's really like 5, 6 feet, which is just a foot taller than her. she survives, thankfully. Cut to a day later, Elijah's like, no, he did this. It was him. It was him. And the mom is sleeping in the hospital, protecting Connie, because I think she knows, like, there's something, a force out there that's coming for Connie. And
Yeah.
then who shows up there?
Well, wait, I got a lot to say about everything you just said.
Oh, please, please.
All right, so they go to the pond or whatever. Again, why is the mom not there? What is she doing? Like, what is she doing?
You know what, kids? Go ice skating without me.
Yeah, you're 8 and he's 12 and he might have killed his brother and I'm not doing anything. I'll just stay home. You go take her there. Yeah, insane. What is this mom's life? But anyway, so they go to this ice skating pond. You talked about that. But the one thing is when she's reaching for help, Macaulay Culkin's hand is there and he's just like,
It's just staleborn.
well, he's like barely grabbing. He's pretending to
His
grab.
hand is out and he's pretending.
Yeah, right, right.
It's standing still. It's crazy scene.
Right. So then the axe guys come and they have to smash the ice so that Connie can get out, which is crazy because there's a hole there. But anyways, so yeah, she survives, goes to the hospital. Macaulay Culkin comes in to potentially kill her again.
Smother her with a pillow, but the mom's there.
Yeah. So the mom catches him. That's my plot hole. How did he get there?
He walked. He said he walked.
From his house?
It's Maine. Everything's close.
It's not close. Everything's super far in Maine.
I think he said he walked.
Okay, what kind of fucking 12-year-old can walk from his house to the hospital? Okay, unless they live right next to
A psychopath. Sorry, I had to do that.
Where's the dad? Where is anybody?
I forgot where that is. But the movie does a pretty good job answering these questions. I just can't remember them all. But I just it's like one of those moments where like he's going to smother his sister with a pillow, and then the mom wakes up. It's like, oh, if you woke up 2 seconds later, yeah, you would have known everything.
Yeah, I mean, it would have been very hard for them to explain.
But then we wouldn't have a movie.
No, yeah, yeah. So then we kind of get the climax where the mom finally does what you've been talking about. The episode is like she goes and looks in his shed and she finds the rubber ducky of Richard.
Which I laughed. I was like, the rubber ducky. That's what did it. It was the rubber ducky. Meanwhile, like Elijah Wood's like about to stab him with scissors and stuff in the bedroom, remember? And it's like the rubber ducky.
Yeah.
Under like a mask. What was the mask? Was there any significance with the mask? It was like a witch mask. Remember that?
Yeah, I don't think so.
There's like a doll hanging by a noose, and then she lifts a mask up, and a rubber ducky falls out, and then she was like, "I was always looking for this." And the line that got me the most was when Henry goes, "It was mine first."
Yeah.
And I was like, "That's the most powerful line in the movie because that's where his craziness all started."
Well, I like that line, but I also like like a little bit after this when they're walking in the woods together when she's like, "Mom, like, why don't we go on one of our walks?" And it's like, "Henry, did you kill Richard?" And he's like, "What if I did? Would you send me away? Would you make me one of those people?" And like that, like I was like, "All right, Macaulay, the little acting chops here. I can see it. Good for you."
Yeah, he's good. But I mean, why did that do that for you? Like, you send me away? That line?
Well, the whole thing where he was like aware that he's like, I know I'm a serial killer, and it's like because the mom's like, we'll get you help, like and he's like, you'll send me away. So he like knows that he's on the brink of like being sent to an asylum because he did kill his brother and he did try to kill his sister, and like people are catching on to him now.
He's very smart for his age.
So then pretty much the final scene of the movie, I mean, Elijah Wood goes to therapy a few more times, and then
Well, also Macaulay Culkin goes to his therapist, which this movie does not make therapists look good either, because Macaulay Culkin like intercepts when Elijah Wood was finally going to go to the therapist and like explain things. Remember that scene?
yeah.
And he's like in the chair, brutal.
Yeah, I mean, he basically takes over. That's probably my least favorite line of the movie is when she's like, "Will you tell me everything?" And he just like his back is to the camera and he just turns his face and goes, "Everything."
It reminds you of Cartman, and like I'm trying to remember scenes from South Park, but I can't think of any from this
No,
movie.
I don't think there is, but I do love that. Like that was so dramatic.
It's so Cartman. I could everything. Like,
You want me to tell you everything? But yeah, so he goes to therapist, basically reveals everything. And I, for some reason in my mind, was like, oh yeah, he kills the therapist, but nope, I guess not. Yeah, so then really we get to the end of the movie. I mean, they've had it with Elijah Wood, they lock him up, and Then Macaulay Culkin and Susan, they go for their walk together, and Elijah Wood sees it and he's freaking out. So then he's trying to escape the room, so he smashes a window. And I'm like, dude.
Which is what he learned from them because they threw the rocks at the window. That's what I thought.
Yeah, yeah, potentially, yeah. So he's, so now he's a bad kid.
No, he knows like I can get out of here with the windows, and he learned a thing or two from.
I mean, I'd hope you at 12 years old would know that you could break a window and get out of it, but
No, but like that was they broke windows in the earlier scene as friends, and now he's like I'm breaking a window to like stop him.
yeah, yeah, that's true.
That was my take.
So he smashes his uncle's office window and he's just like, dude, and he's coming out to, he's like, what the fuck are you doing? They grab him.
And then the therapist is there, and he like uppercuts the therapist, right? Does he uppercut
I
the
think he just
therapist?
pushes her.
No, no, I think he uppercuts her, pokes her in the eyes, and like Stone Cold stunners her. It was really cool. That's what I remember.
That's the uncut version. But then he runs out and he falls when he's running, and I'm like, that was real.
I want to. If I had one question to ask Elijah Wood, it's like, did that hurt? And how many like scrapes did you get? Like,
He's
come
like, you have
on.
one question to ask Elijah Wood. It's like, it's definitely gonna be about Lord of the Rings. And you're like, remember in The Good Son when you were running and you tripped on the deck? Did that hurt?
I wish I had more time, dude. I would do a deep dive on Elijah Wood in this movie. I want to hear all his thoughts. I just do.
Yeah, so now, I mean, the final bit now. I mean, this is the end of the movie. So Susan and Macaulay Culkin are on the cliff that's seen like 50 times throughout the movie, and he pushes her. She falls, climbs her way back up.
Still hits her shit. She hits the shit out of herself, but yeah.
Yeah, and then Elijah Wood comes and tries to save her, so they get into like a fight.
Well, no. She's hanging, and then Macaulay Culkin's like about to throw a rock on top of her head. So he's like, "No, I didn't just push you. I'm actually trying to kill you. So this is real." And then Elijah Wood tackles him before he throws the rock at her. So yeah,
Yeah. But the one behind scenes thing I know about this is that scene actually was Macaulay Culkin dropping. They did not use a stunt double. That was a real rock ledge, and they actually had him on a harness, and he dropped.
it didn't look that high, but they probably made it look high.
Oh, you definitely die if you fell off of it. But it's insane that they didn't get a stunt double or do this in a studio, that they actually used Macaulay Culkin and had him drop with a rope.
Post Home Alone too.
Yeah. So,
Pre Home Alone, they would have thrown him off. I mean, like, yeah, he's fine.
yeah, we're not making a third one. But so they kill, yeah, so Macaulay Culkin and Elijah Wood are hanging off. The mom's holding both of them, and she has to make a choice. And it's like, Mom, I love you. And she's like, oh, Henry, and just drops him.
Because she knows everything now.
Yeah, for sure she does.
I mean, a minute ago he was looking to throw a rock at her head to kill her.
Yeah,
So
so
that's the final beat.
but you've got to make a choice. You're like, I've known Mark for about a week, and this is my son, but he is a murderer, and he tried to kill me, and he also killed my other son. So
Clearly killed Richard, tried to kill
yeah,
Connie,
yeah,
absolutely tried to kill me.
yeah.
I mean,
I know it's time. It's time. Sorry. So that's the thing. The R-rated moment I think of the movie is when they show his body on the rock. I was like, whoa.
and he just like washes away.
Yeah, like they didn't need to show that.
Yeah, like seeing dead kids is like that's R-rated.
Dude, if they didn't show that, I think they would have got the PG-13 because he only says like, "Don't fuck with me, Mark," and that's like the only really bad line of the movie.
I mean, it's a good movie. I think everyone should watch it at some point.
It's fun, and if you grew up in the 90s, you'll love it. And the final scene of the movie is Mark back in New Mexico giving like a voiceover monologue, just like, and I don't think about Henry very much anymore, and now I'm going to play soccer.
That's probably one of my other biggest issues with this movie. I wish they ended with them on the cliff and didn't do that end scene.
Or maybe Henry's grave next to Richard's or something.
No, on the
Yeah.
cliff, leave it like that.
All right.
That's all I needed. And then I was like, oh, they're adding another scene. And it was that last scene. It was like, I don't remember it. But yeah.
Yeah. Not a bad movie. It just, I don't know. It wasn't marketed well because Macaulay Culkin wasn't a horror guy, and this didn't seem like a horror movie. But overall, good movie. Check it out.
Yeah, real quick, stats. September 24th, we just did Henry Portrait, which also came out on September 24th. This one came out in 1993. It's an hour 26 minutes. Budget was 17 to 28 million. Who knows what happens to that 11 million? The box was 60 million. The Rotten Critic score is 25%. The Rotten Audience score is 54%. Not loved, but great movie. Iconic.
Yeah, I think retrospectively people will appreciate it more now than they did in 1993. But yeah, spin a wheel.
All right, spinning. Oh shit. Oh shit. Phantasm 5.
Oh, yes. Okay.
Let's see how we do.
We have to get Mike.
Can we get him?
We'll see.
Now or never.
All right. Yeah, damn. All right, everybody. Well, thank you very much for listening into our discussion on The Good Son, and we will see you with Phantasm 5 next week, either with or without Michael Valenti. You gonna say woo? You gonna say woo?
I said woo.